I'm Rosalind Anderson. I'm the chair of RLC Referee Development. We're really happy to have you all here tonight for this presentation on touch judging and assistant refereeing. We're grateful that Austin Reed has shown up. Austin, thank you so much. Austin is an MLR AR, and he's out of the Los Angeles area. And he also runs the Western weekly calls for ARs. And he can tell you more about that if he likes. But we're really grateful to have him here tonight. Thank you so much for being our expert, Austin. And I'll hand it over to you.
Cool. Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's kind of Marquise had mentioned in I think some of the emails that went out to people, especially now as we get into the playoff times and the business end of the season. There's probably going to be a lot more ARs on the field than we might normally be accustomed to during the season. I know we all wish that we would have assistant referees at every match, but unfortunately, with the supply of referees that we've got, it's not always the case. So what I'm going to be here to do today is go through a little bit of what's expected as an assistant referee. We'll be a little interactive here with some people, with the group here, and then give you guys an opportunity to ask some questions and go through things. So yeah, as Roz said, I'm an assistant referee in Major League Rugby. This is my 4th season there. And I've kind of taken the reins to go through the review sessions with the assistant refs on the West Coast every week. So it's not my full-time gig, but it's something that I've taken to doing, and I love it. So good stuff. So Marquise, I don't know what you've got with regards to presentation, but happy to go through some things. So I guess to start with, just in terms of general philosophy, the primary role of the assistant referee is to do just that, to assist the referee. You're not there to necessarily run the match yourself. You're not there to call every call that is on the field that you see. You're there to add value to the game by bringing in an extra set of eyes to catch the things that the referee doesn't, to confirm some things that that may not be otherwise observed. So first and foremost, kind of acknowledging that to yourself and taking your own attention and focusing it in those areas that are going to best support the referee, which is mostly going to be things that they aren't looking at or can't see based on where they are or what they're supposed to be looking at. So supporting and assisting the referee is number one. It's really important to know your laws as an assistant ref, particularly laws around touch. So when the ball is in versus out, when is it dead? When can you take a quick throw versus not a quick throw? Who needs to be where? Things like that. 50-22 is now a thing that we all need to keep track of as well. So things like that and assistance you can provide in that area is a huge help. And then lastly, it's keeping communication brief and to the point so that you're not adding confusion, you're bringing clarity, and owning your calls. So being confident in the decisions that you've made and helping convey that message to the referee and to the players is huge. So that's the general philosophy. So the primary responsibilities of an assistant ref is touch and goal, which is why knowing those laws is so important. And the second thing is foul play. Assistant refs are not just touch judges. They're not club representatives on the sideline that are holding the flag that may or may not know what they're doing. You are certified referees. you've been assigned to the match as assistant refs, and you have authority to come in and refer foul play to the referee. So that's something that assistant refs bring as a major value to the game, to the match when they are assigned. So being on the lookout for that, and as I mentioned, the referee is only one person. They can't see everything, but by adding an extra set of eyes to either side of the field, you can kind of spread out where you're looking, what you're seeing, and help out to make sure that we're keeping the game safe and fair for everybody. Marquise, did you have something to show, or is this just the what you got?
No, they need. Through Bluetooth. You should be able to share your screen if you have that PowerPoint from the AR brief.
Yep, I've got something.
Yourself, although I really do think that's an excellent photo of yourself there, Austin.
Can Bradley take that one?
Jack of all trades.
Apparently I can't share.
All right, Ross, that's you. Can you give him some of that juice?
Try it now, Austin.
Nope. I think I need to be a host.
I think it. Great. Hold on. So try that. If I make you a co-host.
There we go. Yes, now I can share.
Sorry, I did not know I was driving. Sorry.
All good. Okay, cool. So probably pretty basic stuff that everybody should know, hopefully. But if you don't, that's why we're here. When the ball goes into touch, put your flag up. That's step one. After that, you really want to keep watching the ball until the ball goes dead. I've used this clip for trainings for years, ever since it happened. This is me messing it up and then me getting it right. So learn from my mistake. Don't make the same mistakes that I did. So as soon as the ball goes into touch, make sure you're raising the flag and keep eyes on the ball to make sure that play is legally allowed to resume. So in this case, it's touched by green. Quick throw should be off, but the ref and I are having a chat about something else, not really paying attention. Ball gets thrown in and red scores a try, which should not have been allowed. So don't make that mistake. Instead, kick goes into touch. Flag goes up. I'm still staring at the ball, Quick throws taken, happy days. So that's when the quick throw is on, which is one of the things that you really need to know is those laws surrounding touch and when that is allowed versus not. So really study up on your touch laws. So for the other situations, when that isn't the case, when the ball is dead, so after it's gone into touch, you've got your flag up, you're holding it up, and then once the ball is no longer able to be taken quickly, you put your arm out to clearly indicate which team is allowed to throw, and you move forward with making the mark. So for the throwing team, and then step back to give them space to take the throw. Really don't want to be standing all the way up on the line. It just kind of takes up space that they're going to need. So quick, simple clip, just here. Kick goes into touch. Flag goes up immediately. He's still watching because it's still live. He drops it, kind of walks away. All right, happy to make the mark, step back and let play happen. So just a simple process, but do that every single time. And not only will you look great, but you'll bring some value to the game. So said it a couple times already, but knowing your laws is really important. There are some confusing scenarios surrounding touch when the ball is in versus when it is not. It's no longer just the plane of touch that one might have been used to at one point in time. We now have players who are more aware of it as well. So we need to be more alert on our end as well to the fact that players are going to be creative with regards to keeping the ball in play. So players may be jumping from touch into the field of play or jumping from the field of play into touch and attempting to keep the ball alive. So those are scenarios where we need to be switched on as assistant refs, as well as when the quick throw is still on. So in order for the quick throw to still be on, it's got to be the same ball, not touched, behind the mark, etc. So there's a whole lot of situations where we need to be aware of. So Marquise is a good one for the poll. For the group, is this play on, or is this a ball in touch situation?
Also, let me know when to put the poll up.
I'll play it one more time after this, and then I'll let them know. All right, go for it with the poll.
I can't seem to pull up the poll. Is it somewhere in the chat or?
The poll should appear on your screen there. You should have little buttons that you can click.
Oh,
Yeah, I've got the poll.
You might just have to exit out of the full screen.
Cool. Got about 2/3 of people have answered it. Almost 3/4, which is great. Does seem to be slowing down though, so cool. I'll end it there with 75% respondents. So, not sure if you guys can see, but so as we see, 91% of people said play on and 9% said raise the flag. With regards to whose ball it is, it's a little more split. 27% said attacking, 73% said defending. That may be a little bit confusing because I think most people, so I'm going to just go with number one here. Most people said play on, which is correct in this situation. Players are now allowed to jump from touch into the field of play. It doesn't matter where the ball is when they catch it, as long as they land fully in the field of play. That is a play on situation. If they land on the line, then they're in touch. If they does that make sense to everybody? Cool. So the next touch scenario that I'll go over a little bit is with regards to scoring, getting down toward the goal line where we make our money. So the first thing as an AR is working hard to get in a good position. It doesn't really do anybody too much good if you're 40 meters down the field saying, yeah, let's try, go for it. Or raising your flag. So working really hard to get down there toward the goal line to make that decision is number one. But then also getting stationary so that you can make a good decision. It's really hard to get a clear view of something if your head's bouncing all around, right? So slowing down and stabilizing your head to get a clear view of what's happening, both with touch and anything else that you can see. Again, primary responsibility for ARs is touch first and foremost, pretty much. So you're judging touch first, and after that, you can help with other things, but touch is absolutely first. So there's a couple of great examples here of some of the MLR assistant refs with their touch positioning around scoring.
Tackled. How do you
Let's get that. I need the sound. So he's really working hard to get down there, but then right where it matters, he is, as we're getting close, it doesn't help for him to be shoulder to shoulder with the player right when he's scoring the try or landing in touch. It's much more helpful to stop right around the 5 meter line to get in a good position. So he's slowing down really hard to stabilize everything, get a nice clear view straight down that line so that he can see if this player is landing on the line or scoring first. And this is one thing that is really helpful to the referees because the referee is infield here. So the referee should have a good view of the grounding, and the assistant ref has touch. So with each official taking their responsibility, you get a better overall view of what's happening. So one's focusing on just touch, one's focusing on just the grounding. It's a much better than everybody trying to see everything. So that's a good example there. This is another great one from the master. That's Khalil with regards to the AR squat. You want to get in that nice low position, looking straight down the line, so that you can have a very clear view of what's happening. If you have radios, you can use that to communicate with the referee, but if you don't, Khalil gives us a great example right here. The good old hand signals still work really, really well. A lot of people try and hide it, make it look not so obvious. That can work, but it can also be hard to see for the referee. So if it's clear as day, just make it nice and obvious for everybody. That's just the clearer for everybody. If touch isn't a concern, if we're not running right down the sideline, then you can help to look for the grounding. So if there's a play that happens further infield and it's not right next to touch, you can help to get around into the end goal to help see the grounding, particularly now with the new law that a held up in goal is a goal line dropout instead of a 5 meter scrum. It's especially important for the officials to see that grounding. So if your primary job being touch is not in question, then you can help with looking at a grounding. So don't feel the need to be glued to the sideline. You can run into the infield to see grounding a little bit better, particularly in the in goal. If you can kind of wrap around the backside and take a look at what's happening, it's particularly helpful with mauls getting pushed over the line, things like that. absolutely help with that. Wherever you can add value to the game, that's a great situation to be an extra helpful person, which is what you're there for, to assist the referee. There are some recommendations here on what we do in the MLR with regards to using the radios, communication. So if touch isn't an issue, you've clearly seen a grounding. We use the term try just over the radio. Saying it multiple times helps it come over nice and clear to the center ref, because sometimes we get a little overzealous and you don't hear the first one, you didn't press the button quick enough. Same thing if you have information for the ref as to why the try should not be awarded, rather than trying to explain what happened on the fly, saying like, oh, there was a knock on, you can get a little tongue-tied. So we've just kind of standardized our phrasage to say check, which is just, hey, before you do anything, let's have a conversation about it. So it's the same, it's a try or it's check. And those are the only two phrases you
Cool.
use.
Thank you.
There's the only two phrases you use just to keep things nice and clear for the referee. So that one, let me go back. Okay, so that was one result for touch. The next one I'll touch on is the line out, which is kind of an extension of touch, because once the ball comes into touch, we restart the game with the line out. Again, fairly standard stuff, but the AR on the near side is responsible for setting the mark for the throwing team and having the hooker set on that mark. And then the non-throwing team needs to have a player 2 meters by 2 meters right in this area. So where this red player is, where the red player starts is perfect. He's 2 meters off the line of touch, he's 2 meters away from the touch line. That's where we want him to be. And it's this AR's responsibility to set that player there. From there, if we can get the setup right, then we can have a nicer day at the lineup. And then the far side AR is going to be responsible for setting the defensive players 10 meters. So these guys right here, this far side AR is going to be in line with them, 10 meters off the line of touch, and just to set that space and ensure that that space is kept all the way through the line out. Okay, the next one up is the kicks at goal. This is another responsibility of the assistant refs or touch judges. So working as a team to make sure that we're perfectly accurate at that scenario is the goal. So the near side AR, so the one closest to the point of the kick, is going to take the post on their side and the crossbar, and then the far side one has the post and anything above it. So just kind of dividing it up. So you're each taking one side of the post so that anything goes in between. You basically like, yep, it's in between my, it's on the inside of my post, other ARs, it's on the inside of my post. You're both good. Having that really quick look at each other, check with each other, go, yep, it's good. You can even talk. Obviously we don't want it to be a lengthy conversation, but basically just good for me, good for you. Yep. Okay. Flags up, and then run out onto the field. It looks really, really good if you get it right. And that's the objective. So goes through the post, ARs flags up, keep them up just for a second, a couple of seconds as they run back out onto the field, just to make it clear for everybody. Okay, so what we talked about mostly up to this point are things that a touch judge would do. But as assistant referees, we've got some additional authority. So the main one that's added is foul play. Main one that's added is foul play, but there can be some other responsibilities that the referees may delegate to the group, to the team. The big one there that we do at the MLR level, and I know at a lot of local levels as well, is the offside lines. Is that the assistant refs are frequently asked to help set that space and maintain that space. It's space is one of the main tenets of the game, and it's one of the focus areas for us as referees and for both USA and World Rugby. So it's the main tenets are safety, speed, and space. So foul play is regard to safety. The offside line is for space, and then the speed of play is something that we can also help with. So as an AR, foul play is now one of your primary responsibilities. So getting a clear picture of what you've seen and identifying that and informing the referee is your role. So all of that starts with getting a clear picture. So identifying what happened, who, what, where, basically, if you want to use that as the three main things you need. You need a player, particularly the number of that player. Make sure you keep eyes on that person until you've got it, or some distinguishing feature, right? It's the guy in the red scrum cap, right? He's the only one on the field. I know it's him, because they don't put numbers on the front always, although it is helpful when they have that. The what happened and the where. These are some suggestions for communication that we've got from the MLR. If you have the radios, if you don't have the radios, the way to signal it is to stick your flag out, parallel to the ground, out perpendicular from your body, just straight out. And best practice there is for the AR on the opposite side, if they see that, is to mirror it, to also do it, so that you've got both ARs with their flags sticking out, so that if the referee looks either way, hopefully they catch it and they can see it, and they know that they have to stop the game because there's a foul play report. If you do have radios, we can use the flags, but you can also use the radios, and you can communicate. Again, the who, what are very, very important. So the color and number are always going to be in your statement. But if it's a more serious thing that you see that a card is necessary, it can be difficult to describe on the run. And if it's something that a card is necessary, we probably want to take our time and make a informed decision. Not only that, but it also delivers a better message if it is timely and care is taken.
Don't forget, you can wait until the play stops to make sure the referee has that information.
Absolutely. So yeah, he's absolutely right. You don't need to get all that information over the radio while play is running. If something happened and the referee didn't see it, or you aren't able to communicate it clearly on the run, waiting until play stops to get that information across is absolutely fine. We can always come back to the foul play, regardless of how long has happened between the events and the next phase of play. We can always come back to these things. So make sure that information is communicated to the referee. The only other thing I'll say about putting your flag out is when you put that flag out, you're insisting on a conversation with the referee. You need to have that conversation. You're not going to just put your flag out and have it out And then if the ref plays away, you go, okay, well, never mind. It actually wasn't foul play, never mind. Or I guess it doesn't matter now. So once you've put that flag out for foul play, you're saying we have a problem. Someone did something that they weren't, that's illegal and put players in danger. We need to address this. So have that commitment and have that strength of will to insist on that conversation once you've put that flag out.
And sometimes the referee has already seen it and he considers it inconsequential.
Mm-hmm. And that's fine. If you've provided the information to the referee and they decide that they're happy with their decision, they are the referee and you're there to assist them. So you've done your responsibility if you've done that. So there are a lot of instances of foul play that I can't go through in this short time frame, but what I will suggest to everyone. Yeah, what's up?
All right. Yeah. So next week we'll be focusing on foul play.
Perfect.
The whole session. So,
Perfect.
and then the week after, sorry, I didn't let everyone know, but the week after we'll be focusing on space and offside. So those two are huge topics at the MLR level, and there's a lot of clips to review and a lot of different situations to go over. So this week, Austin, great job with touch, and then continue just to summarize the other points. But yeah, don't worry, we'll have
Okay, cool.
about
Perfect.
space.
Hi, Marquise. You may not remember me, but it was good working with you.
So, hey, Austin, in the chat, there's a question about lineouts and the whole receivers. There's been a recent conversation about receivers, extra receivers. Would you want to answer that one? So, Andre, are you saying that the receivers are entering the line out and no one's coming back out, or people are leaving the line out and we have multiple receivers?
So I've been seeing it a lot at the international level. We've been discussing it on the D1A calls, and of course the high school now is players are trying to emulate this as well. Sometimes it's just bad timing. Other times I think it's everyone's trying to get this driving maul going. So people are leaving the line out and other people are coming in, and more often than not, there is more than one receiver before the ball is thrown. Now, obviously, it's the referee's choice just to go with that. But my question was, as an AR, is that my responsibility to maybe point it out to the ref? And if he says to me, hey, I've seen it, don't worry about it, I'm good, should I actually report it into him, or is that not my call to make?
So every referee is different in terms of their expectations of the assistant refs. I would say it is not one of your primary responsibilities, those being foul play and touch. So it's not one of your primary responsibilities, so it's not necessarily something that you need to get. But again, the intent is to assist the referee. So if that's something that the referee is okay with you coming in for, then absolutely. So I'd have that conversation with the referee before the match, or you can always feed that information in downtime. And if the referee says, yeah, that's great, if that happens again, be sure to let me know. Then that's always something you can do. It's not always about catching stuff on the run. You can always feed in information to the referee, things you're seeing in downtime, and just let them know that that's happening so that they can be better prepared for it the next time that it does.
Good answer. Thank you, Austin.
Sorry to disagree with you, but if something like that's happened on a sideline, a discussion needs to be made with the coach. You have qualified referees running AR. If they see something that shouldn't be in place, talk to the coaches on the sideline and stop it.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you on that one, Dr. Ryan, because I'm going to agree with Austin on this one because I think a referee's job, Austin's yielding to the referee. And maybe you're talking at the local level. You might want to have a word with the coaches, but I'm not, someone else can say something, but I'm going to go with Austin's on this one.
I accept that argument, and yes, you have to be paying attention to the level of play and whether it matters or not.
Yeah, there you go. Cool. So I had a question for you, Austin, about judging touch. Do you have a process, like a checklist that you use, or is it more of a holistic kind of picture in your head?
It's a good question. And it's some of both. There's certain elements that you can have a checklist for, and certain ones that you can't. Mostly because because there are different situations that you need to be prepared for. So you can't necessarily be running 6 different checklists in your head at the same time. So the first and foremost is when the ball crosses the line, it's not actually in touch until it touches something that's in touch. That can be the ground, that can be a person, that can be a stand, a tree, but it's not actually in touch until it's hit something that's in touch. So that's the first item on the checklist, which is it actually in touch yet? So if it hasn't hit anything, it's not in touch. So if the wind picks up and blows it back into the field of play, happy days, carry on. So that's the first element of touch. After that, after the ball is in touch, we're really just kind of looking for, has any person touched the ball? If any person, being a player, a substitute, a fan on the sideline, touches the ball, it can no longer be taken quick. So in that situation, yes, you can have a checklist for how you approach it. For the other scenarios where we're talking about it, players jumping from the field of play or from touch, I guess it kind of comes back to that first point that I was talking about. Whereas if it hasn't touched anything that's in touch, then it's not, it isn't in touch yet. So hopefully that kind of answers your question, Ron.
Rosalind, were you referring to judging it where it went out?
No, I like what the answer was. That's yeah. No, because some people have struggled with that.
I have a question. Where do you recommend referees stand to AR stand as the ball being, like, say, on a penalty being kicked out of touch? Like 10 meters, 20, 30? What's the preferred place to initially stand as the ball is being kicked out for touch?
Yeah, it's a good question. I did have a slide for that. I guess
Depends on the side of the field and where they're cooking the ball. If they're kicking the ball towards your side of the field, you want to see where the ball crosses the field. So you generally will be further down the sideline.
Yeah, I will definitely agree with that. So it depends on the level of play for sure, and the strength of the kickers. Particularly, I did find my slide. Screen number 2. So yeah, you do want to be further down the field, particularly if the kick is taken in the attacking half. So if teams are kicking toward the corner, where you would likely expect them to do a maul, you want to be much further back than you would probably expect them to, because it's always better. Well, the way I phrased it here was, it's not worth being a little bit closer to the mark of touch than it is to miss the ball going over into touch and goal. It's a pretty big momentum swing, and it can be pretty upsetting for players if you get it wrong. So the best position I find to be in is if the kick is in the attacking half, is rather than kind of saying, oh, you know what, they're only kicking about 20 meters, I'm going to be right here. The best position to be in is going to be at this corner flag for a kick to the corner like this. So in this case, this is what the assistant ref does. He's back on that corner flag and can judge it very well with regards to if it's in touch or in touch in goal. If it's not in the attacking half, again, it depends kind of on the level of play, but in my opinion, it's always better to be further back and to run forward onto the ball than it is to try and back up further to get to where the kick goes over your head.
So there's a question by Robert. What factors into positioning an open play?
Sure. So good question, Berto. In open play, I do have this. I guess I may defer that one slightly to the space conversation. But in general, there's a leading and trailing position that ARs are going to take based on where the ball is and how it's moving. But we want to start on the offside line and work into those leading and trailing positions, and then work back to the offside line on every single phase. So I won't go into too much detail there because I think that will be a general topic of the space discussion. So good question, but I'll defer that to 2 weeks from now. Unless the question was with regards to kicks in open play and anticipating where it's going to go and where you want to be. So in that case, I will actually take that. So from kicks in open play, the ARs are going to want to get down to where the kick takes place, but you also have to be on the lookout for foul play. So no just general running, but I'll take kicks. Cool. The ARs also need to be look out for foul play against the kicker. So they're going to divide that responsibility between the side that is the ball is getting kicked to and the one that it's not. So again, if you anticipate a kick happening, you can kind of be ready to run and be chasing it down once the kick happens. But again, coming back to the space, one of our main roles is to set that space. So we want to be keeping that space first. And then as the kick happens, busting to get down there as quick as you can.
Any other last question?
This looks great. I have one last question before we let Austin go. This has just been great. So just Austin, so in terms of touch and grounding, now MLR has TMOs, and I'd like to know your emotional reaction to that.
Well, I'm also one of the TMOs, so it's great.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
I actually just came from that weekly call. So yeah, it does make it a little bit different because where there is a very close decision, you have a safety net of sorts when there's a TMO. But and even at the MLR level, this is something we've drilled into the on-field team, is we still need to make an on-field decision. So even when you're not 100% sure what, and you want to have the TMO check it, you never know what you might be able to see with the TMO, whether the camera angle is available or not, or if somebody's standing in front of the camera or anything like that. So The on-field team, particularly the ref and the ARs, have got to still make an on-field decision. So it's helpful and it's nice to have that safety net, but it doesn't alleviate the pressure. You still need to make a decision. So it's definitely handy, but doesn't change your job really.
Oh, that is a great answer. That's also really encouraging for those of us at the local level. That is fantastic. Thank you so much. So that we're right, sort of 50 minutes is what we were aiming for. This is so great. Austin, thank you so much for coming on and giving us all this great information and your personal point of view. I'm sure people can take it and use it. We're all going to be taking up the lines, coming weeks. And we'll see each other next week, I hope, for Foul Plays next week. Right, Marquise?
Yes. So next week, what you guys will get is a link with your email with clips. That way you can preview the clip. We'll go through about 10 during the meeting of different situations, and we'll do more of a poll so we get different answers. With touch, it's pretty simple. It's either in or out. But with the foul play, space, and offside, like that's what we're going to try to get the group in to see the same pictures. So thank you, Austin and Rosalind. Really appreciate it. And be sure to log. Thanks, everyone.
Cool. Marquise, thanks for getting this together. Really appreciate that. So thank you, folks. Some referee development for you on a Tuesday, our Touch Tuesdays, and we'll see you next week, 8 o'clock Eastern. Good night. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Austin. That was fantastic. Really appreciate it. Talk to you later.